I'm a very creative person. I'm always looking for solutions to problems everywhere I go. And that is a very natural place to always be improving. So when I was running the yard, it was very easy for me to realize that I was never going to be perfect. I always needed to grow and change. And so my smackdown today is that leadership must be perfect. I think that is absolutely wrong and we should tip it on its head.
Hello everyone and welcome to, I think it's the 11th episode of Smithfield Smackdown. So this podcast is designed for leaders in investor-backed businesses to come away inspired with some takeaways and hopefully some connection to what's happening in our industry and tech at the moment. And today I've booked Sian with me. I've known Sian for many, many years as a creative in the industry, but also as an exited founder. So Sian, if you could start with an introduction to you and tell us a little bit about your journey into leadership.
Great. Thanks for having me, Bea. It's a pleasure to be here. I have done my homework and listened to all the other guests. So hopefully I can do a good job for everyone. So hi everyone. Yep, Sian James-Royle, industrial designer by trade and moved straight into management consultancy, building digital systems. And that was back when kind of digital implementation was quite new. Then I moved into more digital product design and go to market, which then lent more into the marketing and strategy of brand and product. And then in 2007, I set up my own innovation agency, which was called The Yard Creative, or TYC to its friends. And that was a 17-year journey to build and scale and then sell that business, which is the leadership experience I'm going to impart today.
Awesome. Been around the block a few times.
Yes, I've got the scars and also the good vibes to go with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So your Smackdown today is really relevant. And I had this conversation with lots of leaders out there. So for context, we are talking about the plates that are shifting around AI, about coming out of what has been quite a challenging economic period. And
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about leadership. So tell us what your Smackdown is, Sian.
Okay, well, I am a creative by background, always have been all the way through my school and all the way, through my early career. I'm a very creative person. I'm always looking for solutions to problems everywhere I go. And that is a very natural place to always be improving. So when I was running the yard, it was very easy for me to realize that I was never going to be perfect. I always needed to grow and change. And so my smackdown today is that leadership must be perfect. I think that is absolutely wrong and we should tip it on its head. So back when I didn't do business as an A-level, and my uni degree, which was industrial design, didn't have any business modules. Now, the management consultancies that I worked in did invest in me as a person and did train me up. And that was some really excellent experience and great groundwork to build from. But I hadn't had any, per se, business training. So when I set up the yard in 2007, we had to learn it all from scratch. And we spent the first 8 years kind of faking it to make it. We were doing our best. We were working hard. We were following our gut and doing what we thought was right. But when we came to realize that actually leadership doesn't know it all, and you should surround yourself with people who are experts in their field and, embrace their guidance, or that you don't always have all the answers, and neither should you expect to have all the answers because things change and move, and especially now with AI and the change that's bringing to our industry, both in the creative sector and in the tech sector, startups across the board. It's moving so fast, you're never going to have all the answers. And so to be able to embrace change and continuous learning and to invest in yourself is also to invest in the business as well. You can't be expected to have all the answers at that point.
I was going to ask, have you felt at times in those early years that perfection was the expectation?
Yes.
when you
Yes.
work with somebody else. Yeah.
Yes,
So when
absolutely. I
from yourself then,
definitely felt that
pressure.
we had set up this business and we were winning clients, brilliant clients, absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic projects. And I felt like we had to be perfect, and we were striving to be perfect. But when you kind of mature, you realize that you can't be perfect and you can't have all the answers, and it's not all on your shoulders. You have to, if you want to grow and succeed, you have to build a great team. You have to delegate well. You have to use the right tools to help you scale and grow. And so we moved along that journey. We kind of started by trying to do everything and be perfect, and the hours were huge. We were doing huge hours each week, each day, um, through to growing to
Cool.
understand that we needed to recruit a brilliant team. And so making hires that were probably outside of our remit, but that we knew were going to help us grow. That's that kind of growth mindset for the business was really important. And then we kind of gradually moved along that kind of maturity level that said we won't ever be perfect, and we should embrace who we are, and we should fill the gaps with other people's knowledge and great team members, and we will be better as a result of that.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a sort of a reflective and humbling journey to go on, because when you set out to do something and you're just trying to be perfect, I mean, I guess in some ways it's yourself putting those expectations on, and then you get to a stage where you're like, one, I can't do everything. Two, I don't have to do everything. So
Um,
how did you hire
so well,
around that?
So we originally were only hiring when we won the work. So I guess you would call that quite organically hiring. So we'd win a client, a project, and then we would then hire into the roles that we felt we needed in order to deliver that. As we got more mature, we made strategic hires that weren't necessarily organic. So if we met somebody who was in line with where we wanted the business to go and the skills and the projects that we wanted to win, if we were fortunate enough to have met somebody who maybe we weren't ready for yet, maybe we hadn't won the work, but that we could see how they could help us grow, and maybe be able to win clients or deliver work that we couldn't deliver at the moment. We began to take risks and hire people that we didn't necessarily have a pipeline of work for. And that again is a growth mindset where you have to plan
Agreed.
forward. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to know where you want the business to go. So that's all a bit of strategy and planning. And you need to invest in yourselves and in the time of the business to be able to open your mind and sit and do that thinking and then enact the plan. Like don't get me wrong, that's not a small piece of work. It's actually a huge piece of work. And I think I'll touch on that later. But yes, so that important strategic hiring really helped us leapfrog forward, because without those people, we couldn't win the work, and we couldn't deliver the work. So it was at risk, but
Yeah.
it was a well weighed risk.
Yeah, a really calculated risk. And also that requires confidence and being brave about what you think the future looks like, right? And that's how you grow. But I'm interested how you keep a growth, because that growth mindset is something that is more important now, I think, than ever. It's nobody's coming to teach you about AI. There's a little bit of you just being playful and getting on with it. How did you go about that? And what tips have you got for the audience about really sort of having that growth mindset and being on that rather than just looking at the active sort of work that's in front of you, if you like?
So I think the knowledge, I do think it is you have to have sat and thought about it and face some facts that you won't have all the answers,
Yeah.
and you won't know everything, and you can't do everything. You have to either you reach a precipice where you're breaking, or you sit and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, what do I want from this? And I think that's a very important
Yeah.
investment time and piece to do. And once you realize that you can't do all those things, you open your mind
Mm.
to the opportunity to then identify the gaps or the opportunities, let's say, and go and fill them. And you either fill them with knowledge for yourself, or you fill them with tools that help you augment your effort, or you fill them with team members who you can entrust and delegate, to deliver for
Mm.
you. Now, one of the things we learned at TYC was that we thought that the leadership had to drive the culture. This was quite early on. We felt the leadership had to drive the culture. And we also were responsible for driving the business forward. So those two things, the culture and the forward motion of the business was on our shoulders. However, the more you look into that, it's not, the culture is down to the team and the people that you hire and the empowerment and the trust that you give them to build a culture. But then also, if you're all driving in the same direction, and if you are all, if the strategy is clear, if the goals and the mission and the vision is clear, and the team, if you've hired the right team who believe in that purpose, then you'll all pull in the same direction. And then the growth of the business and the drive of the business is a team effort. And that for us was really important, that the team, we were, well meshed team. Everybody understood where we were going, and we were all driving to the end goals. We actually had 3 pillars, which was great work, great people, having fun. That was all we wanted. You spend so much time at work. We just wanted to deliver the best excellence in work we could deliver. So, no shortcuts, no repeat actions. Everything had to be super high quality and unique and perfect. But we had to hire brilliant people to help us do that. But importantly, the third thing that brought that together was we want to enjoy what we do, and we should have fun while we do it. Because from a creative background, that's when you're going to get the best out of people, is when they feel they are trusted and empowered to make the culture and have their own effect on the business and drive it all forward.
Well, as an exited founder, you've obviously been successful and you're doing it again.
Yes, doing it again.
How has it changed for you this time? How has it changed for you this time? Do you feel more in control, like you're not changing the wheels of a bus while it's moving?
So I think the learnings around the process and procedure and the tools is all very well bedded in now. All that business acumen. I am a bit of a strange balance of creativity and business acumen, which is a little bit unusual. You tend not to find the creative and the finance go together. But I have had to learn that, and I quite enjoy it. So all of the business acumen is kind of bedded in. Which makes it easier second time round, because you're not learning those huge learning blocks about, what is EBITDA and, what's operating margin and, how do I lift my revenue per head? Like you're not making those calls anymore because it's inherent. So it is a bit easier second time round.
Can you tell us a little bit about your new business? I haven't really talked about
sure.
that.
Yeah. So obviously the Yard Creative was more of a service-led business in the creative sector, doing branding and marketing and product launches for people. But the new business is completely different. It's a B2C AI startup. So it's a consumer offering that allows everyday people to use AI within their everyday life, specifically if you like travel and adventure. So we are leveraging the tools. There is it's AI native. So we've set it up very light in its footprint. There is a lot of automation for the business running and the back end of the business running that used to take a lot of effort back in, when I set up the Yard. So we've tried to streamline a lot of the processes that would take a lot of your time traditionally, to free us up to do the client engagement and the building of the product and the marketing. And it's really good fun. And we should do a different podcast on how that's been launched and grown. And
but do you still get to flex both your business mindset and your creative head as well?
I would say even more so in the second startup, because this one we're raising funding. When we started in 2007 with the Yard, you didn't really raise funding. You just had to pay the bills and earn the fees to pay the staff. It was a very simple cycle. But with technology, because it's expensive to run and it's always moving forward, there is always it's a very hungry business model. And so we are raising funding, which is new. We haven't done that before. And so, a lot of the learnings are still the same, but we are doing a lot more. We're making sure that we are doing the bits we enjoy, and that is the creative branding bit. Like I said, we automated most of the business process. not all of it, and there's more to do. But we have automated a lot of the everyday monotony, which frees us up to do the thing that we're good at, which is the branding and the launch and the product development. Excuse me.
Awesome. And I'm guessing the experience of being on an investment journey previously must really help you going into fundraising.
I think you're a lot more savvy with the way that you approach people and the messages that you communicate with them. One thing I did learn very early on at TYC, and this is again a bit of a downfall from not having any business training back in my schooling or education career, was I do everything black and white. There's no grey. So we're very on the point with the finances, and very early on, we learned that there's no creative accounting. You're very structured and clear, because if you are lucky enough to go through an acquisition journey, there can be no skeletons in the closet. And that can go from things through your employment contracts, all the way through to your finances and the way that you've booked revenue, through to your computer licensing. So you have to be really, really detailed and thorough. And I'm really grateful that we did run our business in a very clean cut way, because when we came to the acquisition, there was absolutely no skeletons in the closet, which anything can derail it. And so what I've learned for this second startup journey, is that we run it in the same way. We're very clean. We're very organized. Everything has a place and a home. And that will help us, one, with raising funds, because when you go to fundraisers, it's important for them to understand very easily how the business is running. Through to another future acquisition will be the same. So yes, we do tend to run them very effectively and cleanly. Yeah. Which I suggest everyone should do.
Brilliant. All my experience is really helping this situation. It sounds like you did it last time anyway, that hygiene factor of running really good books and having a trail and good management accounts and all that stuff, but that will help you this time too. Brilliant. Well, good luck with that. I'd say very zeitgeisty, right in the sort of sweet spot of what everybody's looking for at the moment. AI, kind of centered businesses with people that know what they're doing and have done it before.
Yes, well, we're having fun with it. That's important to us. We're passionate about it. That's important to us. And we're about a year and a little bit in. So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. So rich tapestry that you've shared with us. So key takeaways, I think, really are for people to be, having fun along the way. That keeps coming up. You can't just be working hard, but also really learning from people and things around you as they are changing, and taking on some of that advice and looking how it's really relatable for your business or for your practice.
Yeah, I think we had an epiphany moment at about year 10 in the first business, where we realized we needed to do something different, and we needed to make sure that we were open-minded to other people's advice, and that we enacted whatever we could from those learnings. And that was pivotal in our build and scale journey. Before that, it was lifestyle. And after that, it was growth mindset.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what triggered that epiphany? Was it one thing in particular or a series of things?
To be honest, it's a little bit lifestyle. So when we set up the business, we were quite young. I was 26. Steve was about 28. And so we ran it as a lifestyle business. We had enjoyed our previous work experiences, and we just wanted to do what we thought was a good way to work. So hence the 3 pillars that I mentioned earlier. And we ran it like that for about 10 years. And it was great. We were always profitable and we always grew. But we did reach a point where our top line revenue just flatlined. And we had 3 years in a row where the revenue didn't go down, but it also didn't go up. And that was our inflection point to say, what are we doing? And that was the point where I said to you earlier, where we were kind of working all the hours and putting all the effort in. There was a lot of hard work. Startups are not easy. You have to have the resilience and the grit to be able to, do everything all the time, because the buck stops with you. And when that 3-year kind of revenue plateau happened, we sat down and we were like, okay, what are we doing with this? Maybe we need to open our minds to a different way. And that was the phase that started us maturing to understand that we couldn't. Leadership is not perfect. We were not perfect. We had flaws. We had blind spots. We had gaps. and that we needed to fill those
Yeah.
with either people's knowledge or other staff members who could, help us grow. And that's when we changed our mindset. And actually, we brought on a non-exec who just helped us.
Yeah.
I describe it to people as he came on board and he just helped us really tighten up how we ran the business. So it moved clearly from lifestyle to growth mindset. And we spent a lot more time understanding how all the cogs and all the wheels worked and streamlining them, driving the finances better, recruiting better, winning better work for the business and the teams. Yeah.
So the luck and the talent and the hard work that was propelling you in that early stage, you just biopowered it with a bit more strategy and a bit more of a plan for growth.
That's absolutely
Awesome.
right. Yeah.
Tell me what your proudest moment in leadership is, Sian.
Well, it is related to everything we've talked about, really, B. It is the fact that we reached that inflection point where we realized that we were never going to be perfect. We were good at what we did, but we were never going to be perfect. And that was when, as I said, we brought on the Ned. And, you could bring on an external advisor and they could give you advice and you can choose not to take it. But my proudest moment is that and it's a long one, to be honest. It was about a 7-year, it's about a 7-year moment, if I'm allowed. But it was taking on actively going out there and finding somebody to help fill our gaps and to help fill the blind spots, bringing that person on and being very open and truthful with them, what we wanted, what we had done, what we felt our gaps were, open-mindedly taking on the advice, strategizing, putting in the long-term business plan together as a team and then enacting it. That is no small feat. To be able to stand, I'll call it the starting line. It's not, it was the 10-year starting line, but to stand at the starting line and to draw, an up to the right-hand side straight line that says we're going to improve our EBITDA and there will be an exit at some point and we want to reach this number. And then going back to the drawing board and figuring out how you achieve that it's no mean feat. It was a big challenge, but we just got our heads down. We enacted the advice and, the business plan was super important, by the way. One piece of advice I would give to anybody, not necessarily just in a startup, because as I say, we were at a 10-year point at that moment in time, is to have a business plan and report on it monthly. So, have an overall goal, 10 years, 5 years, however many you want. Put the revenue in, put your expenses in, put your EBITDA growth in. That's what everybody wants to achieve, is the EBITDA growth. That's the bottom line. And actively report monthly on how you're doing on the annual EBITDA growth. And that really, what it does is it gives you a pulse of the business monthly. So make sure the finances are booked monthly and, make sure everything is sorted and tidied monthly. And then you get this pulse and you're like, okay, are we on target to achieve year 1? And then you move to year 2 and year 3 and you grow and you move forward along this line that you never thought was achievable. But because you strategized it and you outlined it clearly, right, all the way down to, we think we're going to do 5 hires next year or 15 hires next year. We want the revenue to jump by 20%. I mean, come on, that's just mad. Well, to do that, we need better marketing. We need more efficient finances. We need a sales team who've got better tools. And it allows you to break your achievements down, let's say, and enables you to break down the goal and then into smaller parts within the business that you can go and fix and enact, like tighten it up. And then at the end of the month, you go, yep, made the target. And at the end of the year, you go, yep, made the target. And then you move on to next. And that is a huge, huge achievement, because for me, the people were always super important to me in the team. Like I said, the 3 pillars, we wanted to do great work with great people and have fun doing it. So the hires and the people were always super important. And so to be able to take those people on the journey, get them great work that they enjoy doing, make margins on the work and, have a great portfolio. I think we won something like, it's a big number, 26 industry awards in 10 years. It's huge. And
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, to be able to take the team on the journey with us. And we tried to be as transparent as possible. Obviously, there's some things you can't never be transparent about, but to be able to communicate all of our journey and the plan to the team and then take them with us on that journey was really rewarding. And I've always enjoyed the fact that the team there's pockets of teams over times of TYC where, they still get together and they still hang out and they still know each other. And I think that is golden because we obviously hired well, good culture, great work, great memories. And I really enjoy all of that. That last 10 years where we put the plan together and had great fun doing it was brilliant.
I love that. And that resonates with me too. We have lots of sort of alumni that get together and they're bridesmaids for each other or best friends. And that really means a lot.
Yeah, that's super.
Yeah, my 4 takeaways really are great people, great work, make some money, have some fun.
That's the dream.
Right. Mic drop.
Yeah, it's the dream.
Well, thank you for joining me. Go on.
No.
I was going to say, thank you for joining us today and sharing your story. It was really inspiring and empowering, and lots of it resonated with me, as I'm sure it will with much of our audience. So big thanks, and see you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Bea.